Well, look who it is. Jimmy Mack.
Oh, mate.
How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm good, mate. It feels weird doing this in the middle of the day when we probably should both be working.
Well, I'm on my lunch break now, Jim.
Oh, yeah, me too, definitely. Lunch I've been on my lunch break for the last 3 years.
So to give people context, Al and Christy, who are obviously usually on the podcast, could not do one this week. So I asked my good mate, Jimmy Mack, if the man of the people, I may add as well, because I think at this point, this podcast has been going for a couple of years now. And I think the one that we did together previously is the third most listened to podcast ever. So you're just giving the people what they want, Jim, yeah?
And it was early doors as well, wasn't it? So
very early doors, yeah. Know. So to give people context, me and Jimmy go way back. We've been the best of friends since our university days. We've played for multiple teams together over the years. I've been on record to say Jimmy is one of, if not the most talented player I've played with. Questionable attitude at times. Is that fair to say, Jim?
Very, very fair to say, mate. And unfortunately, I'm seeing it in my son as well. So it certainly passes through.
Okay, so because how's he getting on? He's just started with Burton Albion, is it?
Burton Albion, yeah. They played Leicester on Saturday. I've seen the best 8-year-old I think I'm ever going to see. He was unbelievable. Really? Flicking it over people's heads. Like, just kids didn't know what to do.
Like a young Jimmy Mack.
Oh, mate, a million times better than a young Jimmy Mack. He was, honestly, if he doesn't play for Leicester first team, something's wrong with the world.
And what's going on with Archie? Is he just a little bit of temperament in there, or what's?
No, he's good, mate. He's good. He gets angry though. He's like, if things don't go his way, he gets angry, and then the emotion comes out, which is understandable for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I have the exact same problem with my 10-year-old.
Yes,
I think I blame YouTube at this stage because I think he just sits there and watches like people whipping it into the top corner. Or what are they? Is it the F2? Is it that do all those videos?
SV2.
Yeah, so he thinks that he can just rock onto a pitch and do like 16 step overs, a back flick, and then kick it into the top corner, and it doesn't always work like that.
What do you mean you can't?
Well, I can, but not everybody. You know what I mean? So, Jim, right, we're going to talk about the weekend's football, right? Yes. And as you know, I am a Liverpool fan. Tank, who is on this... Yeah, you wouldn't know. Tank, who is on this podcast, is also a Liverpool fan. Christy is not. So I'm glad that you are going to be stepping in here as a non-Liverpool fan to add a little bit of balance. Yeah. Is that fair?
I think so, mate, yeah. And it's going to be a shock to the listeners where they're going to get someone who's not just pure Liverpool
bias.
Don't
try and wind me up just for the sake of it.
Pure Liverpool bias, just like Pep said.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come to that. So I want to start off, obviously, by the Liverpool game because that was the first one up at the weekend. Yeah. Pressure was on, and I think a lot of fans would have looked at that, whether that be Manchester City or Liverpool fans, and thought, oh, okay, that Spurs coming to Anfield, a resolute team under, Antonio Conte, who knows how to set up his sides.
Yeah,
that had potential banana skin all over it, and it seemed to go that way. What did you make of the results? Was it surprising to you, or did you see that one coming?
I didn't see it coming, but it wasn't a surprise, if that makes sense. So I thought that was a game that Liverpool might slip up, knowing how Conte sets up his team. And then I realised it was at Anfield. So my first mindset was, this is going to be a Liverpool win, this. So in that terms, I guess, yeah, it was a surprise, but I was also expecting them to get a result against you, and I'm not surprised that they did, playing how they did it as well.
Because that was one of the things, I suppose, off the back of the game that probably caused more attention nearly than the result itself was.
Yeah,
Klopp was quite outspoken, I would say, after the game. And he obviously came out, and we're all emotional people. These cameras get thrown in people's faces straight after a result. But he was questioning Conte's tactics. He was nearly hinting that they've got too many talented players just for them to block and chase.
Yeah.
Do you think that's just emotion talking there? Would you read too much into those comments? What did you make of them?
I agree with what Klopp's saying, but you've got to look at it from a Tottenham point of view. So if I'm in that Tottenham side and we're playing like that and we lose, I'm getting mad. I'm fuming because we've played rubbish and we've lost, so we got nothing from the game. Whereas if played in that manner and got a draw, so in fact, from a Tottenham point of view, they'll be going, great, we've got the result. We've got a result against Liverpool. From a Liverpool point of view, you've got to see it as a bit of a compliment, really. You're one of the best footballing sides in the world. And
say that again, Jim. Sorry, lad.
You're one of the best footballing sides in the world, and a team who should be fighting for the top four, who's arguably got two of the most informed players in Son and Kane, have got 11 men behind the ball and don't want to lose. So it's frustrating from Klopp. He's frustrated more than anything, and I can understand why. He wants to win the league. He wants to go and win everything. But from a footballing point of view, normally teams with lesser players play blocks and you can play through them. Look at the Everton result. When a good team do it, it becomes more difficult. And that's, I think, Klopp's frustration in that.
I think you make a good point there, because that's one of the things I noticed in the game, in that I think the stats have come out now. Can't quote them, but it basically echoed the same point that I noticed. Once Spurs hit us with the counter, you knew it was a threat with Kane and Son. It nearly worked perfectly for them. Yes, Liverpool had a lot of the ball, but Spurs had kind of huffed and puffed, frustrated, got what they came for, which is the perfect counter-attack. And then what you noticed within Liverpool was it was nearly like a little bit of panic. It's funnel the ball wide, and Trent was just whipping cross after cross after cross. And if you've got two banks of four, or it's probably more than that, for the last 15, 20 minutes, it was food and drink for Spurs. Did that say a little bit of panic? Because obviously you've played in games where teams have camped in. You're a player that likes to get on the ball and create. How difficult is it from a playing perspective to come up against a low block like that?
So hard, because what you're relying on is for your movement to create space for other people. So when you've got a back four, for instance, as a striker drops deep, let's just say Jota or Firmino do, it brings the defenders with them. But if they're dropping deep, they're just falling onto the centre midfielders. So your back four, or the back three in this mindset, or back five with the two wing backs filling in, do not have to move, because the player's movement just falls onto another player. So when you're not trying to go forward, you just literally run it. It's like a pinball machine. You hit off one bank onto the next bank. So you can't find that space to go anywhere. So in theory, the most open space probably is outside to Trent, but then he's got to try and recycle that back in and generate that movement from the passing of, the little intricate passing. But sometimes you get to that point and you think, right, it's a David James up front moment where we're just pumping balls into the box and hoping for the best. But yeah, you've got to be a little more intricate in your play. But when frustration sets in and you're 10 minutes to go in a title chasing game, it's all bets are off, really.
Yeah, I certainly got that sense from Liverpool, because in a game where they were comfortable and it felt like they were going to get the goal, that sucker punch from Spurs, it sent shockwaves through the stadium, and then you could nearly feel a little bit of nerves creeping into the team. And from your side, do you look at that now and think that that's probably title over for Liverpool? Do you think they just because the one thing actually on that surprised me, and Klopp I thought was really impressive yesterday in his new press conference, was he said that a draw at home to that Spurs side is never really a bad result in terms of like normal terms. But I suppose it's just been inflated, the standard from Liverpool and City, that a draw at home to a good Spurs side with two world-class players is now felt nearly like a defeat. Are we just expecting a little bit too much of these teams at the moment?
I think you are, and like I said, any other time of the season, you go, you know what, that's a good result, and everyone, it's probably not with the possession stats, etc. But if you were to look on that at paper, let's say December, you go, yeah, that's a fair result. But when Liverpool are chasing the league and the points tally is so high, and Tottenham, although they've been playing well, still aren't at their best, that's where your differentials come in terms of, confidence and team play and that sort of thing. So do I think the title's gone? Unfortunately, the only thing you could hope for is West Ham do you a favour against City. But again, that I can't see them beating them, so you need a draw. I thought the game on Sunday of City could have been a potential banana slip after, such dramatics in the week. But obviously City got through that with not a problem at all. So, yeah, I think that is title gone, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's funny. I nearly feel like that result for Liverpool gave City the shot in the arm that they probably needed off the back of the Madrid game, which probably weighed heavy on them. Liverpool have dropped those points, which means now that City can actually afford to drop points, which, it's a completely different conversation. If Liverpool win that game against Newcastle, if Liverpool win that game against Spurs, they come down for the City fans going into that stadium. The pressure is on. It's a completely different game, but it looked easy for City for large parts.
Yeah, you look at the games that City have got: Wolves, West Ham, Aston Villa, and if you're going in on equal points, quite close goal difference, I think one of them could be a potential banana slip. With you falling over, with City losing midweek, I think now I couldn't. Wolves have been awful. West Ham bounce back, but I can't see them getting much. The only benefit you've got is at West Ham. But again, the way City are playing, I can't see them getting anything. And then you've got to hope for a Stevie G masterclass on the last day of the season. So yeah, it's a difficult one, and it's probably going against you actually with City being knocked out, because they're going to want to win the league now. Whereas if they were still in the Champions League, they may slip up because they were thinking of other things as well.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think when you look at the City game, one thing that struck me, as impressive as they are, they're nearly like flat track bullies. I think if you don't find a way to get after them, and it's easy for me to say that, sitting here, get after Manchester City, an absolutely exceptional side, but if you don't get after them, it's nearly like you're a sitting duck waiting for the inevitable. And I kind of felt, looking at that game, that I think Newcastle had a couple of chances early doors. I think Chris Wood missed the sitter, and they obviously had the goal disallowed. But after that, it was nearly a procession. But the one thing that come out of that, nearly more than the City result, is Pep Guardiola's post-match press conference.
Yeah.
And like, I've been well documented. I find Pep a little odd, right? And this is where you can tell me if this is me just with my Liverpool glasses on. He just seems very easily rattled. He seems like he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. And his comments about everybody in the media as a Liverpool fan, it just screams to me that perhaps he feels this City team don't get the credit that he thinks that they deserve.
I think it's a collection of a few things. First things first, it's any manager, isn't it? It's us against the world. It's classic Alex Ferguson. You're all against me.
Siege mentality.
I'm rallying my team. Everyone supports Liverpool. Nobody wants us to win.
Well, hold on, though, Jim. I
was going to actually say, in a minute, if you let me finish, I was going to say, in fact, I think that's the opposite. I think if you ask a non-Liverpool and a non-Man City fan, who would you want to win the league? I think the majority would say City. I think Liverpool are the more disliked of the two teams. So, but from his point of view, I think he's just seeing it that way, that, everyone's against us. He's just been knocked out of the Champions League in the 90th minute when they've not had a shot on target up until that point. So he's probably smarting a little bit about that as well. But I think he's just trying to play his mind games. And you've got to understand, I've seen Pep's team live. Obviously, my son's a Man City fan, so we've been to a couple of games. They are unbelievable. But we went to Watford a couple of weeks ago. Watford came back 2-1, and they looked a little bit shaky. And then they step up the gas, and it's just relentless. So the problem is, and it's the same with Liverpool, when they get that much possession and they're that attack-minded, as a defending team, sooner or later you're going to bow under that pressure, and then it's the floodgates open, which is what didn't happen against Tottenham for your boys, but is quite often happening for City at the moment. So, yeah, he is rattled. He's probably, like I said, he's smarting over the result midweek. And he just wants to get the Premier League in the bag, and then he can concentrate for next year.
Yeah, it's a weird one with me because I look at the City thing and this is how I see it, right? I think there probably is an element that Liverpool get more attention than City, but I think the reason is a couple of things. So I think Liverpool are a bigger club than Manchester City. That's not a snipe at Manchester City. It's just as a result of history and the passing on of being a Liverpool fan and success. Liverpool globally are just a bigger club than
I'd
Manchester
agree
City.
with that. Yeah, that's
so from then a media perspective, if you want to generate clicks, or because that's ultimately how these websites get paid. Yeah, they want more people, which is the fan base that is going to generate more clicks. So when they cover a Liverpool story, there's more fans, there's more clicks, there's more ad revenue from websites. But then you have the romantic side of it. So, and this is where I want you to tell me I'm just being a Liverpool fan and I need to shut up, right? So if you look at the Manchester City storyline, they are not the plucky underdogs.
No,
it's not us against the world, despite Pep trying to make that. And I understand that's what he's got to do. But when you look at it, there's not really a romantic story in the fact that Manchester City have unlimited resource. They can go out and buy whoever they want. Question marks over how they do that behind the scenes, feeds into a narrative. But then at the same time, when you look at other fans in the league, Liverpool are far more disliked. City don't really offend anyone. It's nearly like, what's the lesser of two evils? Look, if Man City win it, I don't really know too many Man City fans. I can't bear Liverpool fans to chirp up and be annoying. So it's nearly like teams are like, other fans are like, yeah, go on. If City win it, everyone expects them to anyway. So it's actually not that annoying. Is that fair, do you think?
It is fair. And liking it. How do you know someone's a Liverpool fan or a vegan? Because they tell you. So, I think it's very much of, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans because where we went to uni, obviously we went to uni in Liverpool, and they're very vocal. And I'll admit it can be, I wouldn't say grinding, but it's relentless. But that's your love for your team. So that's not a downplay on you guys in how you promote your love for the team and your love for that team. But and if you just imagine an average person, if someone's telling you something constantly about something and someone's just going about the business, you tend to go to what, if someone's telling you how rich they are and like flashing it around. I'm not saying this in money terms. I'm just talking in general terms. And you got someone who's well off, but just goes about the business. You tend to gravitate to them and go, "Oh, they're a nice guy," or "That guy, he's proper."
They're not in your face.
Guy. You know what I mean? I'm not. So from that point of view, I think that's why there's a lot of, and that's where my sort of distaste towards Liverpool fan goes to, is that it's
in your
always
face.
It's not in your face, but it's Liverpool FC and it's Liverpool FC and the same for you guys. It's us against the world, and that's the narrative that's fed. Do I think that most people will want City to, is that a fairy tale story? No. Are you a bigger club? Yes. Do Man City fans care where their money comes from? No. Does every other fan care? Yes, because they don't have it. Are Newcastle fans caring where their money comes from? No. Are everyone else because they don't have it? Yes. So, and don't act like Liverpool can't go and spend money, mate, because you're not exactly the paupers in the corner asking for more.
It's a very different conversation, though, when you get into Liverpool are funded mostly, well, actually, pretty much in its entirety by player sales. Because a lot of people say, well, look, hold on, you went and bought the best goalkeeper in the world, the best centre-back in the world, best centre midfielder in the world, or defensive midfielder in Fabinho. But two of those players were completely funded by the sale of Philippe Coutinho. Whereas you look at Manchester City now, they've obviously been able to go out and buy Haaland, which is an unbelievable signing for them. It is a very different conversation, but I think I was listening to Danny Murphy on TalkSport, and he was nearly hinting that everybody should want Liverpool to win the league because of how they've done it. That's just going to annoy a lot of fans, majority of fans, because there is always question marks around how clubs do things. And like you said, Liverpool certainly aren't paupers, but I think the point he was trying to make is they have to be smart in their recruitment. They cannot afford to make mistakes, really. And if I'm being honest, I think back in Michael Edwards' time as in charge of Liverpool and the transfer committee, it's probably only Karius that has been probably a big mistake. The majority of the signings have had impacts. You could say Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think he still had an impact. Whereas Manchester City can afford to stockpile players. They spent over 200 million on a back four alone. And if they make a mistake, it doesn't matter. So I think that's where probably the difference comes in.
I understand where you're coming from, but that's just better business, isn't it? You've got two businesses and one's better at it than the other. So it's not like you can't just go and buy players. I get that you've been funded by them sales, but that's just, I wouldn't say luck, but you've sold one player and you've got money to spend, so you've used it to spend on there. If you hadn't have sold Coutinho and you hadn't have sold X, Y, and Z, that doesn't stop you from going buying Alisson.
I don't think we buy him though, Jim. I think that's the point. I don't think we have it was just because we were able to sell him let's be honest, we robbed Barcelona blind.
Yeah, absolutely. They've had their pants pulled down well and truly. But my point, I still think, all right, you might not buy 2 or 3, but you've got the funds. Everyone in the Premier League now, regardless of what you are, have funds to go and buy 50 million, 60 million pound players because of the TV deals, because of the revenue they're doing. Yes, a lot of who could do it might then have to find stuff out the back end that, they're going to be in trouble because of it. That's why they don't do it, but you can. Now, you're just lucky or you've got great business people behind there who sold them players that have generated that money. Whereas Man City are just lucky that they've got an owner who's worth more than the world itself. So, it's different. And it feels different to you and it feels different to a Man City fan. It'll feel different to an Everton fan. But they're your feelings, aren't you? No one can tell you how to feel. That's just how you feel. It doesn't make their business wrong, and it doesn't make your business wrong. It's just different.
It's saying that, Jim, how many times have I left WhatsApp groups over the years because of comments made about Liverpool?
Mate, I was talking to our friend Dave, and I thought you were going to do it at the weekend, but he left you alone, to be fair. If Liverpool lost, you were getting it.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm an easy target, and I know it's happening as well, and I still would like to think that I can just be calm about this and laugh it off, but there's just something about Liverpool. I just
revert back to my previous comment on your love for Liverpool and everyone else. I see your brother on Facebook after a meaningless result trying to give it to every other fan. I'm going, what are you doing, Paul? Like, you don't need to do that. But he just loves it. And that's my point. And that just adds to where you go, and I don't see every Man City fan going after they win game after game after game going, United are rubbish and Liverpool are rubbish and whatnot. Whereas I see Liverpool fans all the time.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Paul will be listening to this, so hello, Paul.
I hope so. Stop it, Paul. Just put the phone down.
Now, Haaland to City. That was talking of spending the money. Look, even as a Liverpool
60
fan,
mil, mate.
Yeah, but when you're looking at it's cheap in terms of the fee and the buyout.
Yeah, I know the wages is going to be massive.
It's going to be it's unbelievable. But money aside, because we've all become bloody accountants at this stage, and it's an unbelievable signing of a player that looks elite. It looks like he's going to score every single time he steps on the pitch. That's probably the one thing. That's the one chink in the armory of this City team, is that they probably haven't got a striker who's just going to bang goals. It was why they were after Harry Kane.
Yeah.
What do you think this does to that Manchester City team and to any team looking to challenge them over the next few years?
Honestly, I think it takes them a mile away from anyone. I really do. Don't forget, Haaland's 21 years of age. He's not Harry Kane at 28, 29. He's 21 years of age.
Not even close to his peak.
Pardon?
Not even close to his peak.
6'4", tall, strong, got pace, can finish. I mean, let's just look at his stats now.
Yeah.
I think he's almost at 1 goal a game. So, he's 44 goals in 40 club appearances in 2020. And that just continues on. So if you imagine, and that's in a Bundesliga, okay, it's not great, but you've still got Bayern Munich in there. So you imagine him up front with balls from Foden, Grealish, Sterling, Jesus, just getting played into the box for him to just feed on all day. I think he'll break the goal score in a season.
Really?
I do, mate. I do. Not because he's that good. I think he'll just get that many chances.
Yeah, Manchester City have that tried and tested formula where it's get the ball wide, the little cut back across the box, and you literally just need someone to put the ball in the back of the net, which is why I looked at the Harry Kane thing and thought that makes a lot of sense, because the one thing about Kane is he has practiced his craft. Whether you're a fan of him or not, he has practiced his craft of goal scoring. You see the way he strikes a ball. It's just repetition, repetition, repetition. And you get that sense with Haaland. It doesn't matter how the ball falls to him. He literally just scores.
Just scores. And he can score, he can. I think one of his down plays would be his build-up play. But I was listening to the radio myself the other day, and someone within the the Bundesliga was saying that he's brought that side of his game on fourfold in the last couple of years. So not only that, he's going to get you assists as well. So it's not just Haaland. You got to understand City have outscored most teams without a striker. So you put a striker into that team, and he doesn't even need to play. As I said in our WhatsApp group, his injuries are probably his only downfall. And what if I was any other fan is what I'm praying for. But Pep can just manage him. He can play, 1 in 2 in the Premier League and just roll him out for the Champions League. And he'll just, and I think they'll be frightening. And don't forget, I don't think that'll be the only player they'll sign either. So Jesus looks to be going. So they'll get a good chunk of money for him. So that will fund the money for, you'd assume that Arsenal will pay 30-40 million for Jesus. They're desperate for a striker. So I think it's just going to take him to the next level, mate. Unfortunate for everyone else in the country.
Can I be honest, right? And fans label this at throw this at Liverpool fans a lot. And Liverpool fans will bat it away and say, "Oh no, it was good, it was fine." The winning the league behind closed doors left me feeling a little bit not vacant. What's the word?
Dismayed.
It was just like I'd had this build up for years. It was more relief. I think I felt relief generally that we'd finally done it. The monkey is off our back, but I didn't get this big release, this big celebration.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we won the Champions League in Istanbul, and I went into Liverpool City Centre. And, everyone swinging off lampposts.
Can't you?
Yeah, I worry that City, like, to keep up with this City team, like, they're so good. There's no room for slip up. A couple of draws and you're out at a title race. It's mad carry on, and it's only going to get more difficult. I just hope and pray that Liverpool get that big moment with the fans. I think they will. I'm confident they'll win I'm confident they'll win the Champions League. Touch wood.
Mate, come on. Madrid have come back for the last 3 games. That last City game, I think you will win it, but I think if you discount, I'm
not discounting them now. I'm not discounting, but I'm confident that if Liverpool play to their ability, they should beat Real Madrid. But like Liverpool, they have this weird hoodoo with the Champions League where weird things happen. So that makes me nervous.
It's certainly going to be a great final, mate, and I hope it is a great final. But I do think you'll win it, and I think you'll beat Chelsea for the FA Cup. Honestly, I can't see you winning the league again for a while.
You think? It's just that consistency that City are able to roll out.
Pep signed his new contract, didn't he, not long ago? So the only thing you could hope for is that Pep leaves and City go into disarray. And I bet City fans are thinking the same. I know Klopps just signed his contract. So you've got 2 of the best teams in the world, in the best league in the world, so far apart from any other teams. They're just miles ahead. And I don't think Pep will allow his team to let you win the league again. I just don't think he would until he goes. Now, I'm not saying you won't, because things happen and he might have injuries or whatnot. But I genuinely can't see it. I just think that the way they play, and obviously I'm not discounting Liverpool. You're on a par. You both play the best football going. The signing of Luis Diaz has been an absolute revelation. I think you need another signing like that to try and get you somewhere. Maybe someone like a Darwin Núñez or someone along them lines, where they'll be your Jota for this last couple of years. He's been unbelievable. To catch City, do you need someone different to Jota? Is he that player that's going to take you above City? These are the questions that you got to ask.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy by any means. And there's one thing I want to finish on before we wrap up, right? Because I would, having known you very well over the years and played with you a lot, I've seen you probably at your best and your worst. There's an enigma in you, Jim, as a player. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You'll like this segue now. So I want to finish on another enigma of a player, which is Paul Pogba, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's rumors he's obviously going to be leaving Manchester United, a club in disarray. Paul Pogba absolutely divides opinion. You've seen it the other day there with Micah Richards, you know what I'm trying to say, Micah Richards and Jamie Carragher and Jamie Redknapp. They were all having a debate as to who should sign him, would you sign him, and the likes. Where do you sit on this? Because there is rumors that Pep is interested. There is rumors that he could potentially go to Manchester City. I will put my hat in the ring and say he has undoubted talent. But after so many years at Manchester United, we still don't know his best position. He hasn't delivered on a consistent basis. And my personal opinion is I would run a mile if I was a top side that didn't build a team around him. Where do you sit on the Pogba debate? And do you think City would be foolish to look at him?
I wouldn't say foolish. The question you've got to ask yourself as a manager is, could I get the best out of Paul Pogba? So I don't think his last managers have been able to do that, whether that's Ollie, whether it's Ralph, whether it was the Dutch guy, or what's his name? Van Gaal. Are they the best people to get the best out of Pogba? Probably not. Was that Man United team good enough to support a Paul Pogba? Not at all. So you go, could he fit into the Man City team? Yes. Could they build a team around him that will just do everything that Kante does for him at France? So the Paul Pogba of France and the Paul Pogba of Man United are two completely different teams. Two completely different players, sorry. But they're two completely different teams. So he's got Pogba, he's got Kante, he's got Griezmann, Benzema all doing his dirty work, and he can just get on the ball and do whatever he wants. So, do I think they'll sign him? No, I don't think they need him. I don't think they want the upset in the camp if they sign him, because he's not going to play every week. Would I sign him for a team? Yes, but it's got to be the right team. If I was Paul Pogba, I'd be going to PSG all day long, and I think that is where he'll probably end up. An easy sort of stroll around league, surrounded by great players. A lot of the players that he plays with for France, Kimpembe, Mbappe will be off, but they will fit a team around him. So he's not an enigma. I just think he's not misunderstood. He's playing in a bad Man United team, and they're looking for scapegoats, and everyone's getting it. I mean, I can't believe Ronaldo being made a scapegoat. He scored 24 goals in that absolute garbage team. It's probably
I was going to say I had to eat a little bit of humble pie on that one, because I was quite vocal about the signing of Ronaldo, and I thought, like, United don't need Ronaldo. He's old. They can't build a team, around him, plan for the future. But to be fair, he's just scored goals, mate. And he's our age. He's our age.
He's scoring goals in the Premier League. This could be undoubtedly, and forget about, don't forget all his goal scoring feats. This could be his most influential season, and probably a season that he should be most proud of, because he's not surrounded by Benzema's doing his work. He's not surrounded by Modric feeding him balls left, right, and centre, and Cruz just finding him. He's got bloody Scott McTominay and Fred running around booting balls at him, and Jadon Sancho on the sideline. Bloody, can't cross a bag of wind. And United are awful. And he scored 24 goals. That's 24 goals, and they are awful. So got beat 4-0 by Brighton. 24. It's in the Premier League as well. It's not in France. It's not in the Bundesliga. This is the Premier League. It's the best league in the world, and he scored 24 goals, mate. That is some going.
Do you think he was an outside bet for Player of the Year?
Honestly, yeah. I don't. And I get his all-round play might have changed, and it. But I don't want Ronaldo to be feeding balls into. I watched a video the other day actually, and it was a CR7 video. It was on Facebook or whatever, and it was him passing to players and what they did next. And let me tell you, not one of them resulted in a goal. So if I'm Man United, I'm going just give the ball to Ronaldo anywhere in the box, let him do 85 step overs and have a shot. And if it goes wide, who cares? Because that's the only way we're scoring. And the fact when you look at the league table, United without Ronaldo's goals, I think they're close to the bottom three. They're certainly in the bottom half. And all this, narrative around him being a problem and they can't press. And well, imagine if he wasn't there. Then that's not worth thinking about if I'm a United fan.
Would you keep him?
Good question.
I'm good at this stuff, Jim.
Very good question. Would I keep him? How could you not? Tell me who you're going to sign. United need to spend 500 million in this next transfer window. They need a whole new team near enough. If I'm Ten Hag, I'm thinking, what have I done here? It's a good job he's already lost his hair because he'd certainly be losing it after a while.
Like me, lad, I'm losing my hair at the back these days.
I look at the hairline, but yeah, that's a big project. That is not somewhere I would want to be. I'm not surprised Paul Pogba doesn't want to be there. Would you?
No, Liverpool hat off for a second. I just think they have so many problems, and it actually reminds me a lot of where Liverpool have been in the past. This kind of icon of football fallen, from grace. Fans probably in this internal battle with still thinking that they're one of the big boys. United will always be a big boy. Don't get me wrong; they're a massive club, one of the biggest, if not biggest, in the world.
They are the biggest club in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. But from an actual footballing sense, they're miles away. They are miles away now. The biggest thing for me now is when they look at this, I think Ten Hag, all the stuff you read about him, you see about him, the way he had Ajax playing, is an excellent coach. Manchester United need an excellent coach who can get the best out of a struggling group, but also give them an identity. The biggest thing is how he handles the big players. Now, for me, he's got a massive job in that he's got to get rid of Harry Maguire. I think he's one of the biggest problems in that Manchester United team for how they want to play or how Man United fans expect them to play. High line, attacking. Harry Maguire, and he's a good defender when he's got no space behind him.
Yeah.
When he played at Leicester and he's defending his box, he's a good defender. He's comfortable on the ball. His confidence has been broke because he's been shoehorned into a team that play in a way that doesn't fit his capabilities. It's the same as Wan-Bissaka as a right back. Wan-Bissaka is an excellent 1v1 defender, but Man United in most games have the majority of the ball, and they need him to be an offensive give defensive output. He can't do that. He's not that type of player. So I think Ten Hag has to do some major surgery. If you're looking at it now with the Ronaldo thing, I think at this moment in time, he can sail off into the sunset and his stock has never been higher. It's like when Ibrahimovic came. He banged in all the goals and he can go. If Ronaldo goes now, no one can blame him. He still looks like a legend. His stock is high. Ten Hag is then allowed to bring in 3 players or maybe 1 or 2 players that will press and play in the way that he needs them to for his identity. So it's nearly like the perfect golden handshake, the perfect goodbye at the moment.
Yeah, I get that. But if you're Ronaldo, and you've had all your doubters this year, and even now people won't, contribute his goals to where United are, would you not want that one season under Ten Hag to go, you know what? And that's his dilemma, isn't it? Does he go with that extra season and have a stinker and stink the place out? Does he have that extra season and score 30 goals? We don't know what that team's going to be like. But you're right in what Ten Hag needs to come in and do, and it's a big job. But he's done that brilliantly with Ajax, and there's a couple of players there that he'd do well in bringing in. Gravenbach, he's unbelievable. And I know that from FIFA as well.
I was just going to say that was a FIFA stat if I've ever seen one.
No, I've seen. No, I do. I told you about Luis Diaz. I do see a lot of these only because my lad watches them on YouTube all the time. But I do you get glimpses of these. I know it's YouTube videos, but
it's totally FIFA, Jim. Who are you trying to kill?
That one is FIFA. I'll give you that. Team of the season he is. But yeah, they'll do well getting a few players from there. And I think they've got a few agreements in place for them players, actually, from what I've read. But even still, mate, with Ten Hag coming in, I would not want to be a Man United fan for the next 5 or 10 years.
What a perfect way to finish. Jim, we've been planning to get you on for the podcast for a while, mate. Did you enjoy it?
It's always been good to do when I see your face.
Yeah, I love that. So you'll come back, will you?
Yeah, always, mate. Anytime you want me, and if the listeners don't desert us in droves, mate, I'll be back.
Okay, look forward to it. Right, with that, that's enough from us. Everybody that's listened or watched on YouTube, thank you very much. It's really appreciated. If you could do me a quick favor and just like the podcast and leave a review wherever you listen to it, and subscribe on YouTube. Plan is to keep the wheels a spinning now, and try and get an episode out each week. So if you can leave us a review, it'll help the podcast get noticed. But most importantly, I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back next week. Have a fantastic week. You look after yourselves, and we'll speak to you again soon on the Boot Room podcast. All the best.